This time I'd like to introduce the president of Kosciusko Economic Development, and that is George Robertson.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us. This is our third annual event, and this is the largest turnout we've had. I'd like to call on Chris Wiggins on our board from Lake City Bank. Chris?
All right, good evening. It's my pleasure to present tonight's first award to one of the nation's largest egg producers and one of the men who helped grow it into the company that it has become today. Don Strauss was the fourth generation owner of Midwest Poultry, headquartered in Mentone, Indiana. He helped build the family business up from the small grain milling company in its earliest days to the large-scale operation that is now in place. Leadership was passed to Don's son-in-law, Bob Kraus, who now acts as CEO. Accepting the award tonight on Don's behalf is his daughter, Sally Kraus, and accepting for the business is Bob Kraus. Please join me in welcoming Don Strauss and Midwest Poultry to the KEDCo Spirit of Enterprise Hall of Fame. And you can say a few words.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to accept this on behalf of my dad and my family. I was thinking today, I honestly, absolutely remember a day my parents learned a new word. And my mom, I remember, said, "Girls, your father is an entrepreneur." Anyway, we were excited to find out my dad had a career, then he was officially an entrepreneur. Thank you for recognizing him for the innovator that he was. He would be very proud. Thank you.
Well, everybody at Midwest Poultry appreciates Don and the foresight he had, because that helped lead us to where we are today. And on behalf of all the creative, imaginative, hardworking men and women that make Midwest Poultry the company we are now, I'd like to say it's a true honor to be included among the group of recipients that have gotten this award in the past and that are receiving it tonight. And thank the board and the committee for giving us this award. Thank you very much.
We have about 8 people who serve on our selection committee, and we hold about 8 meetings, and they're interesting meetings. But one of the funnest jobs I have is after all those meetings and we get to let people know they've won, is making that phone call, because the responses are always very positive. But this year I had one from our next award recipient that just kind of caught me off guard. And the email came back from the papers and said, "I get hundreds of emails a day. It's been a long time since I've shouted out, 'Stop the presses.'" To introduce our next award, I'd like to call on Board Member Dan Brown.
Well, it's really a joy and an honor to introduce our next Innovation Award winner. Newspapers have been with us for a long time, and a lot of newspapers are struggling, but to keep what started out as a small town weekly newspaper expanding and growing as a tribute to the entrepreneurial spirit of Ron Bumgardner. Well, after earning a degree in journalism at Indiana University, Ron joined the company in 1966, and his wife Gloria joined soon after, and the family worked together with a growing team of dedicated coworkers to push the business forward, bringing in new technology. In a quote from Ron, he said the advanced technology and the onset of computers that changed the industry, along with the dedicated and skilled people, with an uncompromising commitment to quality and attention to detail, have been the driving forces. It's my great privilege to honor our next inductee, a publisher, a journalist, a printer, a businessman, an innovator, a true innovator, Ron Bumgardner. Also accepting the award on behalf of the papers is Chief Editor Jerry Seeley. Now, Jerry, I watched a video online in which you were telling about why you worked so long at the Mail Journal. And you mentioned the number of years, but I believe it's close to 50. Two over. Well, I was giving you the credit of a couple of years there.
I think if there's innovation, if there's entrepreneurship in our business, as Dan said, it goes back to my dad, who decided to buy a small weekly newspaper, knowing really nothing about newspapering. He worked in the summers for his brothers in the coal and ice business. That's when you used ice for an ice box rather than electricity and so forth. And he decided to do this when I think between his perhaps sophomore, junior, senior year, which kind of amazed me because I don't think I would find myself doing that. But so appreciate that, the committee, the group of this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the award on behalf of the staff of the papers. We have 260 plus employees now. And I was telling Ron yesterday, we had a meeting in my office, and I said, you know, when I first started, I could count every employee in every department on my hand. I bought Christmas presents the other day for 22 editorial people at the papers. But I do thank you on behalf of all the employees.
When we talk about family businesses, I think the Nix Company probably takes that description, not only from family, but to an employee-owned business to the nth degree. To make our next award, Chairman of our Business Retention Committee and Board Member Jim Tinke. Jim?
Good evening. On behalf of Mutual Bank, I'm very pleased this evening to present the next Kosciusko County Entrepreneur and Innovation Hall of Fame Award to Miller's Health Systems and to the Miller family. This is certainly a story of entrepreneurial spirit of the local couple, Wallace and Connie Miller, who ventured into uncharted territory in 1964. Prior to that time, private nursing homes in America were virtually non-existent until certain amendments were made to the Social Security Act in the 1950s. The Millers took a huge risk to acquire the former Kosciusko County home and surrounding land located on County Farm Road south of Warsaw, just on the outskirts. This became the location of the initial Miller's Mary Manor. And I would ask that the Miller family to please join me, come forward to accept the 2013 Kosciusko Entrepreneur and Innovation Hall of Fame Award.
Good evening. On behalf of my brother Jim, my brother Dick is in Florida, and my sister Barbara, and myself, Beverly, we represent our mother and father, Connie and Wallace Miller. We wish to humbly say thank you for honoring them this evening. Our company was based on Christian values stemming from the core of our family. It was a dream of mothers to provide excellent health care for the elderly. No one was turned away. It was known as a home with a heart. Though Dad has been gone for 29 years and Mom for 12, their 50-year legacy lives on through the employees of Miller's Health Systems. Thank you.
As a representative for the over 3,000 employee owners, it's our honor and pleasure to continue the Miller's vision and mission to continue to affect many lives throughout the state of Indiana. We're getting ready to celebrate our 50-year anniversary and hopefully to have many more after that. Thank you.
I mentioned the strong ag nature of this county, and it's an industry that sometimes we don't recognize that brings an incredible amount of value into our community in terms of income and employment and innovation and new products that benefit farmers all over. Not only is the next recipient a family business, but they're also indicative of how our businesses participate in community, how they give of themselves, in addition to the business, to serve on boards, to serve in local government, and to take a real part in growing not only a company, but a community. Presenting our next award is board member and president of Kosciusko REMC, Bruce Gosley. Bruce?
I have the honor tonight of presenting the Spirit of Enterprise Award to Clunet Elevator and the Anglin family. Clunet Elevator is a 3-generation grain business founded in 1951 by Jack and Dallas Anglin, and is in the side of the old Clunet schoolyard. One of the enduring qualities this company possesses has been in business for over 62 years, generation after generation. So at this time, I'm proud to present the Spirit of Enterprise Award to Jack, Tom Anglin, and Gabe Ayers.
This that is happening here tonight, 62 years ago, I couldn't have imagined. When we started in business, our very first day to start buying grain, we decided we needed some money. So we went to a local bank and to borrow $10,000 with which to buy grain. And they turned us down. They said, we're not on a railroad. We'll never survive. And to thank the board and the committee for this award. It's, as John would coin a phrase, our blessings are beyond measure. Thank you.
I just want to say that on behalf of Clunet and all of our employees and our community and customers that we are humbled by this award. What Jack said is correct. We are blessed beyond measure from the standpoint of true partnerships with our customers and allowing us to grow in a community in which we support. And hopefully we can reflect on this award. And again, want to thank the board and the committee for this opportunity. We're very grateful. Thank you.
Now, Uncle Jack and Gabe have said everything that I could say. But I do remember, like Uncle Jack said, no bank would loan us any money because we weren't on a railroad. But I tell you, we've got a truck fleet that's better than any railroad you'll ever see. And it's just great. We've got great employees. They've stood behind us.
We also want to thank Tom for his years of service on the Kosciusko County Council, serving our citizens. Next award is interesting. We, in our very first Hall of Fame, recognized Reverend Depew and the company that was eventually bought by Johnson & Johnson as part of a larger corporation. Last year we honored a small company that started here called Warsaw Orthopedics that grew and was eventually acquired by Medtronic. Our next award is the same kind of history of the orthopedic industry, starting in a small business, making a few acquisitions, and we have a series of awards that go over that kind of growth history. And presenting the first award, I'd like to call on a member of our committee this year, Jerry Hogan. Jerry?
It's my pleasure and privilege to introduce John Hand. My regard for John Hand is closely akin to hero worship, so this is a real thrill for me. I talked to John a little while ago and I asked him, what should I say about you, John? And his response was, read the program. Now, if anybody knows John Hand, that's pretty much what John would say. John was a guy who took the business from $3.5 million, which is a nice little business, to $16 million. And he did that in the course of about 11 years, right, John? Over a period of 5 years, he grew the business at a rate of 30% annually, which is pretty incredible, even in the orthopedic business. It is my pleasure and my privilege to introduce to you Mr. John Hand.
Well, I got a few notes here, but this was a challenging, interesting job. The thing when I came into the picture was after Paul Salyer, Bill Huff, and Bill Hand were highly involved in this. They were definitely entrepreneurs. They were risk takers, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Symmetry story is an interesting one, and John Hand is part of it. He started a number of companies and sold them. I went out and was touring Paragon recently, and they have this huge polishing department, and they told me how they grew it quickly by buying Hand Industries polishing department. But the next award winner grew a company differently. Rather than starting it and selling it, he started buying other people to grow a company. And to present our next award, I'd like to call on NIPSCO, the economic development person for us, Diane Thelman. Diane?
In 1996, John founded Symmetry Medical, Inc. through the merger of Othie, Inc. and Polyvac Incorporated. Between 1996 and 2002, he directed the negotiations for the acquisition and bank financing of 3 companies from the U.S., England, and France, which were then integrated into Symmetry Medical. Under John's leadership, a global marketing strategy led to increased international sales, a doubling of total sales in 5 years, and the implementation of ISO 9001 for medical devices at 5 manufacturing locations. Please join me in congratulating John Bird on his induction into the Kosciusko County Entrepreneur and Innovation Hall of Fame.
First, it's great to be back in Warsaw and see a number of old friends. It's hard to believe that we've been gone 10 years. And I've got to say, Warsaw has changed. It's really a vibrant community. But quite honestly, once again, John Hand stole some of my thunder. Because one of the things he pointed out about Othie Symmetry is the people. And that's really what made the company. That was the first thing. The second thing was the fact that we were dealing with an industry that was receptive to change. And I can honestly say, nowhere in the world did I ever see an economic incubator such as what you have here. So again, thank you very much. It was a wonderful experience.
And the history of Symmetry after these 2 individuals is one of constant growth, constant search for excellence. And to make the award to the company, I'd like to call on the CEO of OrthoWorks, Cheryl Connolly. Cheryl?
Isn't this a great event? I think it's a wonderful event. I have to tell you, born and raised in Warsaw, and this is the second time I've been to this event. And I find it so inspiring to see things that I grew up around and saw growing up in Kosciusko County and getting to understand the stories behind them. We've heard some great things about the start of Symmetry. So, John Hand and John Bird, I'll tell you, your stories are incredible. You built something. But to continue the story a little bit more and where Symmetry is now, they are today a widely respected global supplier to the orthopedic industry. They have well over $400 million in sales. They are a publicly held company. They have 2,400 employees, and they continue to search out and do acquisitions. So with that, I'm really thrilled to have the opportunity to present to Symmetry Medical. They are an active member of our OrthoWorks organization. They provide value and guidance and support and direction. And so I'd like to ask Darren Martin to come up on behalf of Symmetry.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank John and John. They pretty much laid the groundwork here for the no speeches. I don't get into speeches, but pretty much we tell it like it is. And for everything that's happened at Symmetry Medical has been quite a journey. And again, we owe it to people like that started that business back when Paul Sawyer and Bill Huff Sr. I wish I could be here, but with John and John taking on the business and growing it where it is today is very important. But again, with the whole process, it's the employees and how they made things happen through a lot of change. Since I've been with the company, we've been through a lot of changes. I mean, as John mentioned, we've been kind of pretty much like a training ground. And but that was really no different when I joined the company, because I started back in 1990, a few years ago. And thought I was just going to train here for a couple of years and move on. In fact, I was thinking of going back into the pharmaceutical industry. But once I started there and worked with the employees and working with John and a few other folks there, and my teammates that are at my table there now with Reese and Rocky and John, that we thought we got something that was going to work with us here. And Jerry was there with the group there also, so we'll be along on the journey, and it's been a great one, and continue will be for Symmetry and the community. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it very much.
Entrepreneurship and innovation is not limited to manufacturing or agriculture. It's also true in the service and retail sector. And it's really our last award this evening is kind of a pinnacle because the company reflects the community it helped grow by its very name. Not Warsaw, but Lake City. And so to make the beginning presentations, I'd like to call on our board member, Charlie Smith. Charlie?
Part of this is maybe the thunder for the bank, but this is a small little bank at one time that started in 1872. And although these two gentlemen are both old, they weren't around then. All right? But they do account for about 1/3 of a century of Lake City Bank and its rapid growth. And I think I can say the same about both of these gentlemen, that they are very, very exceptional with leadership skills. And they have, first of all, Doug came to the bank in October 20th, 1980, 33 some years ago. At that time, the bank had 5 offices, all in Kosciusko County. They were in Warsaw, Winona Lake, Silver Lake, and North Webster. The bank at that time was less than $100 million in total assets. When Doug left, it was over 10 times that size, over $1 billion, which it achieved back in 1999. More important, he was on the board with the American Bankers Association. And this involved going out to Washington, D.C., usually 4 to 5 times a year, and working with things that was setting the legislatures of the legislative side of the banking world. We have helped a lot of the companies, hopefully, in this room to be able to attain the dollars that they need and to make this a very prosperous county. Today, they grew this bank to the 4th largest in the state of Indiana. With that, I would appreciate it if all of you would help me to join in applauding for these gentlemen.
Some of you have forgotten, and many of you have never known, is that the banking industry in the early 80s in Indiana was very archaic. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't go into the next county. You couldn't go into a town that had another headquarters of another bank. We were located entirely on the corner of Center Street. We were out of space, and we were looking at plans of what we were going to do next, and the thought was, let's buy a cornfield out there on 30 and run the downtown office as a branch bank with the minimum number of people, and everything that we could learn, discover, told us that to have a viable downtown, you had to have people. You could subsidize 3rd floors, you could change the parking, you could change the traffic flow, but the most important thing was to have people working there that went out at noon and had lunches and went to the stores and bought things. Thank you very much.
The innovation part of this award is humbling, and you think, well, what is it that we do differently than other banks do? And I think it's been mentioned, and it's maybe right in front of us and yet overlooked, and that is we didn't sell, we don't sell, and the other thing is we don't buy either. If you've noticed here, what we do is we serve clients, we expand into the neighboring towns, and we grow our business through that way. We have aspirations to do well for our clients, and yes, do well for our stockholders as well. A $3 billion bank, we've got about 520, 530 employees. That's about 100 fewer
than what a similarly sized bank seems to need to operate. So I just want to thank you all for this and thank the people. Thanks very much for this award.
To make the final presentation to the bank itself, it was interesting as we were doing the write-ups for the program. I kept hearing one word all the time about the bank and what it stood for, and it was, we're a team. Our employees are all part of a team. And it struck me, looking out at some of the employees here, that every one of KEDCo's committee has a member of their team on our team. And we appreciate that, as well as the other banks in the community that really make our committee system work. To present the award to the company, I'd like to call on our Vice Chair of Business Retention, Mike Brill.
Good evening, and it's my privilege to present the next award to an outstanding company. Lake City Bank has a proud history in Indiana. Founded in 1872 in Warsaw, it has continuously operated under the same name since its organization, making it the third oldest Indiana state chartered bank in northern Indiana with 45 branches located in 13 Indiana counties. Lake City Bank has operated through boom time, recessions, and even the Great Depression. They continue to serve the people of northern Indiana, who in turn helped Lake City Bank grow into one of the region's largest local-based financial institutions. In 1998, under Mike Kabaki's leadership, the hugely successful bank entered the 21st century. It also entered the league of the big banks with assets over $1 billion. Lake City Bank can be defined by its mission and its core values. My honor to welcome Lake City Bank into the Kosciusko County Entrepreneur and Innovation Hall of Fame, accepting on behalf of Lake City Bank as Chairman and CEO Mike Kabaki.
I would just say that a lot of history has been talked about tonight, and over the more recent history of the last 2 or 3 years, the story of Lake City has been the offices that we've opened up in places like Indianapolis. I think it's appropriate for us tonight to also say that we know where we came from, and Warsaw is our home. We do business with a lot of you people in this room, and I deeply appreciate it. And so, so thanks for your business, everybody, and we're very honored to have this award.